Hey, in this fourth video of the help series for our checklist, I'm going to have a look at some of the more administrative side of it. So looking at how to set up the system, what roles exist, what's the visibility associated with those roles. So we get a kind of a top level view here, and then we'll do a deeper dive into just general setup of the system, like whether you want a flatter approach or use the Teams approach, and have a quick look at some of the repositories like the GitHub repository and the Firebase project. Our checklist has a variety of roles. So the basic ones are the ones that get assigned to a user, as we see here. Things like whether they're a team manager, a category manager, a resource manager, etc. And we see here what privileges these various role assignments give you. So as expected, someone who's a resource manager can create, update, remove resources. Same for a category manager, can manage categories and the activities associated with categories. And a template manager can create a template from a checklist and can also update those templates. And then finally, there's kind of the super user or administrator can do everything, can manage users, has visibility to all the checklists, and can update all those checklists, can see and update all categories, templates and resources, and can also update the design of templates, so it can basically do anything. The next set of roles are related to teams and checklists. So basically, checklist has assignees which have particular roles. So an assignee is someone who can create a checklist. So every user can create a checklist and then becomes an assignee, and then can do basic operations on those checklists. So it can save, email, print checklists, can update those checklists, set new statuses, and can create a checklist from a template. The more involved roles are the team roles. So you can be a team member, a team manager, and a team reviewer. And as we see here, they have different functionality, but basically a team member can see their team and the other team members for their team. Team manager can manage all the checklists that are assigned to their team, as well as assign assignees to checklists. And then finally, a team reviewer has visibility to all checklists in the teams that they're assigned to, but cannot update those. So that might be kind of a VP or a department lead who wants to be able to see what's going on in the different teams, but doesn't necessarily want to be able to update the activities or the checklists being worked on in those teams. And just to note that the team functionality and the roles are optional, so you may just run a simple our checklist system where you don't use teams, so it could be just for one department or just be like for a hobby. So my other example is a fishing group, so if it's a fishing club, you may not need separate teams. You may just have one large checklist system that just has assignees in it, but doesn't worry about the team side of thing. But if you're a larger enterprise or group of teams makes sense to you, then you can set up teams and use these roles to control access to the various checklists and what people can do in the various teams. So let's have a look at the most basic system setup for a user. So this is where we're not using teams. So I've signed in as a basic user who is not a member of a team. So you see here I get a fairly straightforward menu for that type of user as well. Teams aren't mentioned. And basically I can see my checklists. I don't have any at the moment, and I can see templates that are available to me for creating a checklist, or else I can just create my own checklist independently. But say I want to make a checklist based on this boat prep template. I'll have a look at it. I'll say yes, I want to create that one. Let's give it a new name, and I'll select none as the team in this case and create the template. So create the checklist. And now when I look at my checklists, I can see that, but it won't be associated with a team, and I can still manage work based on that template, sorry, on that checklist. I can go into the checklist, fill it out, do all the normal things. It's a lot simpler without having to worry about teams, and this is a good solution for just simple groups where you don't actually break people into different subgroups, or where you just have a departmental level solution and everyone's working off the same checklists. Okay, here's an example of where I've gone in as an administrative user and changed this user's privileges. So I've gone into their profile and have added the can manage resources option to their profile, and you see straight away now their menu includes a resource management menu item. Then go in there and manage the resources now. And so this is the way you can assign system level privileges and roles to users, and again can do this outside the concept of teams, so you can just have certain users who have higher privileges but still don't need to get into using teams. Now we'll have a look at the various team roles. So first look at people who are team members, so a user who is assigned to a team but doesn't have any additional privileges beyond that. So this is the user I'm using as an example. It's called the normal user, and if we have a look here, they have my teams now available to them on their menu, but they only see one team, the sales team, because that's the only team that they are a member of. And if I go into the sales team details, they can't update the team details. They can't add team members to them. They can view other team members who are in that team. They can see the checklists associated with that team, but when they go into the checklists, they can view the checklists, but if they try and do any editing to the checklists, it'll say they're not authorized. And next we'll have a look at the team role of reviewer. So here's my user who's set up as a reviewer. They're called reviewer. And again, they haven't got any additional privileges. So we see now on their menu, as well as having access to my teams, they also have access to the things like checklist search and data visualizations, which can occur across teams. So if we go to my teams, we see they can see the teams where they have a role of reviewer. So they see two teams here. If I go into one of these teams, again, they can't add team members. So again, a reviewer is view only type access to everything, and the teams are reviewing. But it's good for someone who may be a quality control person looking across teams, or again a cross-department manager or a VP who wants to see everything that's happening in all the teams that they're responsible for. And again, under checklists, they can see the checklists for whichever team they're looking at. So if I click into this checklist, they can view that checklist, but if they try and edit that checklist, it says they're not authorized. The other things they can do is use the checklist search and data visualization across the teams for which they're reviewers. So for example, if I go into data visualization, they can only select teams where they've been set up as a reviewer, but they can do a visualization across those teams. So the last type of team role is to be a team manager, and here we have someone who's set up as a team manager. Now if I go into my teams, I can see all the teams for which I'm a manager. If I go into the R&D team, I can see checklists. I can also add team members because I'm a team manager, and if I go into this checklist and try and edit it, this time it'll let me in, because basically as a team manager I have rights to edit any checklist that's in my team, as well as add members to that team. So if you want to use our checklists, it's open source, so you can go to my GitHub repository here under Summary of DA, select our checklists. All the code you need for our checklist is available there. One note, if you look at the license information, you'll see it's an MIT license, which is kind of one of the more open source licenses, other than needing copyright notice reference to me. You can do anything you like with the code, including using it commercially. All the back-end services for our checklists is provided through Firebase. Here's an example of my our checklists database that I'm using under Firebase. So what you would do, you would go into Firebase, create your own project, and link that project to your instance of the our checklists Angular code. So I'm using authentication. I'm using database services, so various NoSQL databases here for things like checklists, resources, teams, users. I'm using the storage functionality to store things like the evidence files, the resources, user photos. I'm using the hosting service to host our checklists on the web. So you'd set up all these things in your own version of this. I'm not really using functions, so I have functions in there. At the moment I haven't got any functions that are specific to our checklists. And a note on our checklists, I'm also using rules and indexes for the database. Okay, finally, I keep all the track of all the projects that I've done up on my LupinCorp website, so you can see all the projects that I've done here. So if you want a top-level view of our checklist, you can click into the checklist details. There's the various help videos there. Also a link to GitHub. As well, be aware that there's development blogs available. So if you click on vlogs, shows all the videos I've done about development of our checklists application as well. So with all those things, you should be able to put it together and also be able to go through the code and know how it's laid out and work on it.